Hey there, how's it going? My name is Jimmy. Thank you so much for joining me today for yet another fragrance review. Just the other day, I went to Nordstrom's and I had the pleasure of sniffing all kinds of stuff, fragrances mostly. Okay, that joke is lame. I should stop doing that every take I try at this. But I really got into Joe Malone fragrances. Decided to not smell absolutely everything, the new Parfums de Marly and all that. Didn't really try that. Just wanted to stick to the Joe Malone gallery. There's so many to look at, and every time I go back, I have different opinions of the favorites that I had last time when I checked out Joe Malone fragrances. A quick background of my history with Joe Malone fragrances. I am not an expert, however, I do have a favorite of Nectarine Blossom and Honey Cologne. That one smells fruity. It has some citrus and it has some sweet honey as well, but not overbearing. Now, some of you watching this, I know you guys are thinking this in your head. Why am I watching this? Joe Malone, their fragrances are so weak in the strength department, in their longevity, potency. I get it, but there is something to be said when it comes to a fragrance that just smells good due to its purity of ingredients. And I think that's where Joe Malone really shines. That's why I keep going back to them, right? Sure, I have lots of fragrances that last not only just as long. I smell these like this is a day later. I'm still smelling the strips right now. It's radiating off this podium I have here of all the scent strips. So they may not be as weak as their reputation precedes them to be. I smell them just fine. If this was on a person and their clothes, I know I'd be smelling them. It's not as strong and radiating and punching my nostrils, but it does smell good. It would smell great on a man or a woman. It's very clean and citrusy, some of them. I'm smelling like four at one time. They kind of meld together to be a nice little fragrance on its own. Maybe someone should do that. Take all the Joe Malone fragrances, uncork them, and just mix them all together like a mad scientist. Call it Joe Malone X Joe Malone. Okay, maybe you shouldn't do that. My point is, they're not as weak as people say. And if you're talking to someone that says Joe Malone fragrances are weak, you're most likely talking to a fraghead. A fraghead is someone who has brain cells that are now gone from sniffing fragrances all day long. If that's you, I'm sorry. Okay. But you know it's true. We all are just looking out for the most strongest, the most potent. But sometimes, if you find a fragrance that has purity of ingredients, I just enjoy those. And there is a another side to that, because the most pure fragrances tend to have not that strong of longevity. And I'm willing to be okay with that because I have other fragrances that kind of cover that strong strength department with a strong solid base and tons of Ambrox fix and all that stuff. So you give and take with everything that's out there, right? When it comes to Joe Malone, I have here, as I mentioned, Nectarine Blossom and Honey. That's my favorite. I recommend that to anyone. Maybe it's a little feminine, but a fantastic, probably the best of the bunch if you ask me. And I have people who have complimented that fragrance quite a bit. I have tried Fig and Lotus here, and I have the notes here. Okay, so Fig and Lotus. It has fig leaf, lotus flower, which is kind of a light floral note, and it has vetiver. So does this end up smelling a little grassy and green? To me, my level of tolerance for green is quite low. I don't like it. I don't like Tom Ford, the vetiver fragrance. I did own that for a little bit. It's a little too much for me, right? It really does smell like vetiver. Even Hermes's vetiver fragrances, it smells great, don't get me wrong. It's just not for me. I don't want to smell like, green tumbleweed. That's just not me. So compared to that, this vetiver is super weak in a good way. If you kind of like the idea of smelling like white floral nature, this is going to be great. You have floral fig, a nice little greenness, just a little bit to make you smell like the outdoors without being dirty at all. Super clean and fruity. Definitely recommend Fig and Lotus. In fact, when I first smelled a whole bunch of Joe Malones, that was my favorite one, and it happened to be the first one I smelled the other day. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you guys is, sorry I don't have the actual bottle, but you know these each cost like $300 each. Okay, this next one I thought was really interesting. Lime and Mandarin, I believe it's called. Lime Basil and Mandarin Cologne. I really like these. Now, some of you may smell these, especially in a Drydown, and it's a little difficult to tell apart. I had a little issue with telling apart the lime mandarin one and Earl Grey tea and cucumber. To me, they kind of smelled similar. They both have a little sharpness to it, very pleasurable sharpness, very pleasurable likability. Everyone would like this. I don't think they're forgettable. I do think they smell natural. I think they smell pleasant. I think this would smell great on women or men. But yeah, they're not the strongest thing. I'm literally putting the strip in my nose. I'm putting the strip in my nose and it's not all that strong. Yes, I wish these were stronger. However, what's the trade-off? Putting a whole bunch of amber base in it, it's changing the composition completely. So if you want to have a transparent, delicious, light, citrusy scent, I believe lime, basil, mandarin, or this Earl Grey cucumber I really like. Just so I let you guys know, the lime, basil, mandarin also has a base note of amberwood. It's not at all very strong. I'm lucky I can smell it all right now. It just smells clean and light, and that's really up close. But if it's from far away, when it's a windy day, and the air conditioning's going, you may not be able to smell this. But reapplication is a real thing. So if you have enough money to buy a Joe Malone fragrance, you have enough money to buy the small travel size. All right. Earl Grey and cucumber, I have it pulled up here. This is a very interesting one. I love the idea of cucumber in fragrance, in my libation, if you will. I like that it gives a very vegetal, a little bit, with sort of like a marine, aquatic feel. So I love cucumber. It's fresh, it's clean. Here it's so clean, I can barely even smell it. I know, I'm not making a very good case for buying Joe Malone fragrances, but I sprayed it a few times to really soak into this piece of paper here, and it has been a day, and I've been smelling it since then. I just know when I first smelled it, I loved how delightfully light it was, with a little bit of commercial sharpness to it. Bergamot, cucumber, and beeswax, which is known to have a nice, calming, not musky, but a neutral smell. And beeswax has a little bit of something to hold on to for the citruses. Now, it's not going to hold on for over a day, but the fact that I can even review these in the Drydown for a Joe Malone fragrance is quite amazing in itself, wouldn't you say? I say so. So, I'll review these in terms of an order of what I like the best in a second, but we have one more, actually two more, surprise one. This next one was something I smelled in succession. I think this was actually the last one I smelled, and I thought, whoa, this smells totally different than the other ones. I purposely smelled the most commercial, mass appealing ones of the whole gallery. I didn't smell any of the dark amber looking bottles that I would suggest, or I would think it's suggesting it's a darker, more potent fragrance. Maybe it has some oud in it, things like that. Me and oud and leather do not mix, okay? But, so, out of these four that I'm going through, Fig and Lotus, Lime, Mandarin, Earl Grey, and Cucumber, this one is the most potent. Keep in mind, a day later is the strongest. I can smell it from here. Pretty weak, but I can still smell it, which is a whole lot more than those. Honeysuckle and Davana. Yes, it's right here. Okay, so Davana, I didn't know what that was. I thought it was someone it was named after, but it is actually a top note. So, I don't I swear I smell some sort of fruit or citrus, but it's not that. Maybe there is some in there, but Davana is a green plant with hints of licorice, brings vibrancy to the fragrance and a touch of a fruity note. So I think that's really cool. Instead of like saying that there's fruit up top, bergamot, lime, like there always is, Davana is definitely an interesting scent. Nothing else smelled like this, which I really liked about it. I love the fact that it stands out. I haven't said what it smells like to me yet. It smells very soapy. If you like super clean fragrances without smelling like, Irish Spring, for example, that's not what I'm saying. It smells like a fancy soap, not quite like Prada, but in that vein. It's this fancy, mature smelling soap that it smells a little bit more regal, but this can be worn anytime. I think any of these could be, which is why I love Jo Malone's fragrances. They're so transparent, they're lovely, and they're vibrant, and they bring life. Every time I smell them, despite how weak they are, make me feel good. Okay, so English honeysuckle with a radiant floral sea brings a rich character to the heart of the fragrance. Accents of honey, there's moss, fresh rain. Yes, it smells, yes. Now, I love reading what's in there after I smell it. It's soapy, it's outdoorsy, kind of like rainfall has just happened or about to fall. So, these fragrances smell natural. They smell like the earth around you. It really brings me back down after smelling like, body wash and chocolate, tiramisu, and whatever ones I have in my collection. Yeah, those are great too, to smell otherworldly. But these just smell like if you were to go outside and it connects me to the earth. It resets my olfactory senses and kind of reminds me why I got into fragrances in the first place. From a weaker fragrance. How crazy is that? What are some other ones from Jo Malone that I have experience with? And that is, I can't bring them out right now. It's buried in a bunch of boxes. Dua's Herbs and Sea Salt. That one is also a Jo Malone duplicate. Jo Malone has very well-known fragrances, and one of them is Herbs and Sea Salt. That one is a killer fragrance, and I must say, Dua's does not smell exactly like it. It's a very good interpretation of it, but Dua's is like I would say 10 times stronger than the one from Jo Malone. And because of that, it's just made differently. It's an extrait concentration. It's thicker, more dense. So just that alone is going to change its composition and the way it comes off. Now in the air, it's going to smell like Jo Malone's fragrance just in the air, which is going to be nearly impossible with this kind of concentration, these eau de cologne concentrations. I don't think you'd ever smell these in the air unless you really sprayed a lot in your hair and you walked close to someone, you might get a whiff. With Dua's fragrances, even their fresh ones like Herbs and Sea Salt, you would smell that in the air, possibly with a little distance as well. And as I mentioned, the best one I think would be the Nectarine Blossom and Honey when it comes to the lighter fragrances. Let me, one more, bonus one. This is turning to a long video. Is the Grapefruit fragrance of Jo Malone. They have one that's just called Grapefruit. I sprayed that one on my hand. Now, for those of you who are still tuning in, I'm glad you are, because this is a good bonus fragrance. I was really excited for this Grapefruit one because I never smelled it before. And number two, something simple, what's that one from Sephora? There's a whole line of them. Atelier Cologne, that was it. So I have their lime fragrance. That one is nice and strong and long lasting for what it is. The grapefruit pomelo version is very nice as well. Highly recommend it. I wish I can get my hands on that one right now. When it comes to Jo Malone, their grapefruit fragrance came out to be bright and rindy off the top, and it was very different from Light Blue Forever, which I did not like. I think I mentioned that in a different video. Light Blue Forever definitely does smell like BO. And if you are wearing that thinking you don't smell like BO, I'm here to tell you and break some bad news to you. You don't smell good. unless your body chemistry is somehow canceling out that BO. Like your BO is knocking out their BO. But just even off a tester strip, it's there. Okay, so even if it's not there, you're really gonna take your chances if it smells like that in a tester strip, right? So the grapefruit one from Joe Malone has that bitterness and it's kind of heading towards that way. Not as much as Light Blue Forever, but it has a dark bitterness was kind of turning a little BO-ish, a little bit. What I'm trying to say is there was more of a masculine turn on the grapefruit than these other ones that I've shown you today. These other ones are definitely unisex, possibly a tiny bit feminine if you really want to swing it one way or the other, but grapefruit had a little bit of more of a masculine energy if you ask me. So that's my thought on grapefruit. I would choose Atelier Cologne over Joe Malone. It's cheaper, I believe, although those aren't too expensive, and the grapefruit is outstanding in that one. So is the lime. So let me rank these. I will rank them. Fig and Lotus is my first one. I love fig. I have other fig fragrances, including Banana Republic. I have Clean. They're a fig citron type of fragrance. That one's good. But the Fig and Lotus one from Joe Malone is my number one pick from the ones I've sampled the other day. Honeysuckle Divana would be my second choice. It's kind of close to being first. Honeysuckle Divana smelled so different, and I've never smelled the note of Divana, so because of that, they're number two. But if you don't like to smell like soap as much, Fig and Lotus has a nice citrusy clean you might be looking for. Number 3 and number 4 are tied for last place because I like them both, I should say. However, they both kind of smell similar and nebulous in the Drydown. I can't really make them out, but I can smell them from here. It's just sharp, citrus, and uber clean. Very nice. I enjoy these, just not as strong. Fig and Lotus, fruity and not as sharp. Honeysuckle Divana, soapy, and the strongest of the bunch for sure. Okay, and if you're in the market for Joe Malone, check out Herbs and Salt, and the Nectarine Blossom. Okay, this has been my review and talk of Joe Malone fragrances. I hope this helps you guys in some weird way. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.